Okay, guys, so hello. I am here to go over some notes on what is chemistry. And I'm trying to not have myself in here perfect. So, the main idea is what is chemistry? So, I know you all signed up for this class because you love science and you want to become a chemist in the future. So, let's go over some important terms for chemistry. So, chemistry in and of itself is the study of matter its interactions and how it changes. Okay, so what is matter? When we talk about matter, what are we talking about? So, matter is anything with mass and volume. So anything with a mass and with a volume is matter. So for example, you are matter. Your car is matter. Food is matter. What's not matter is stuff like light or energy. Okay? So the question becomes, why does matter matter? And how do we observe matter? So this is where our five senses come into play. So we observe matter with our sight, our touch, our sense of smell, our sense of sound, and the last sense is taste, which we will never use in this class. So really, the four above, so sight, touch, sound, and smell. That's how we're going to observe matter in this class. So now matter can undergo two types of changes. So we have a physical change and a chemical change. So a physical change happens when the form of the substance changes, but the makeup stays the same. Okay, so your starting substance stays the same, but the form has changed. So an example of this is salt dissolving in water. Okay, so the salt is still there. It's just super, super, super tiny and you can't see it with your eyes. It's still salt, it's just way smaller now. So a chemical change is when your starting substances become a new substance. So they undergo a chemical change by breaking and forming bonds. So an example of a chemical change is iron rusting or an egg cooking, burning paper. Okay? And then up in this video, this goes into more detail about chemical versus physical changes. All right? So, speaking of chemical changes, we need to talk about the signs of a chemical change, also known as a chemical reaction. So, when we're talking about a chemical reaction, it's really important to understand the signs of a chemical reaction because sometimes you may not know. But one of the first indicators that there's a chemical reaction taking place is a color change. So if you have a blue substance that turns yellow when you add water, that's a chemical reaction. Another way to tell a chemical reaction is taking place, there's a gas being produced. So there's a funny odor, you can see bubbles in your solution, you can hear fizzing. That's another way to know that there's a reaction taking place. A temperature change. So this is known as endo or exothermic, right? So we talked about this a little bit. So temperature change is known as endo or exothermic. So if it's endothermic, it is entering the system, so it is absorbed. Okay? If it's exothermic, it exits. So it's released. Okay? I don't know how to spell this. I'm just going to guess. Okay. So if you feel your reaction get really, really hot or get really, really cold, that's a sign you have a reaction taking place. Light is emitted. So we're going to do a lab where light being emitted is that's how you know that there's a reaction happening. So, a fire starts, there's a bright light or a dull light, or there's heat given off, okay? And then let me just erase those so we can read. The last way, a solid is formed from two liquids. Okay, so you have a solid being formed from two liquids. You did not start with solid, but you get some. That is what we call a precipitate. And then last but not least, we have two different types of properties. So we have our physical properties or our chemical properties. So our physical properties are observable with our senses, and the object does not get destroyed in the process. So that's like size, color, shape, mass, volume. Okay? Our chemical properties, those are a little different. So our chemical properties, they let you know how one substance reacts with another. So this is stuff like flammability. If I put this bottle near a flame, is it going to explode? Acidity. If it's caustic, if it's corrosive with organic materials like acids and bases are. Okay? So if you want to know more about our physical versus our chemical properties, this video here will tell you some more information. So that's going to do it for our notes on what is chemistry. Again, very, very introductory, but you should have this note sheet filled out now.